Hi, I'm Chuck with Fish Fighter Products, and I'm here today with Chris, one of our engineers. Wave. So we're out here on the water today to talk about downrigger releases, or specifically one downrigger release that I think is the best that's ever been made. And you know, normally with Fish Fighter, we don't introduce products that we didn't invent, but in this case, I just couldn't take it anymore. I think it's just such a wonderful product. And I've always been surprised that when I go to other people's boats and I say, hey, are you using the magnetic release by Chamberlain? And they're like, well, never heard of it. So a few months back, I reached out to Keith Chamberlain and talked to him and his wife and talked about their downrigger release. And you know, when you talk to Keith, his enthusiasm and his excitement level is just off the charts. I think he's been building this for about 15 years now. And I'm just surprised that it hasn't made it out into the Northwest, or at least in the West, in great numbers. But after talking to him, it became clear they're just a husband and wife team. He hand builds every one of these. You know, they just haven't been able to really do the mass media marketing. And I really felt compelled to not only help them, but help people catch more fish and share this. I've kind of been keeping it a secret, but man, it's just too great a product to not want to share. But before we get into that, I want to tell you a little bit about some of you that are new to downriggers, and by no means am I an expert, but here's what I can tell you I know. Normally you'll have the downrigger like we got here. You come down to a downrigger weight. We like the Fish Fighter brand. And then you have your quick release mechanism, or your release mechanism. They come in a couple different styles. You know, this is a cannon release. It uses a ratcheting mechanism. This is an offshore release, but they all have the basic concept is they have these grip pads in them that grip the line. And so what happens is, in a normal fishing situation, I'll kind of get you a little tighter, you would put this line in just a little ways, just enough so that when the fish bites, it can release it. The problem with it is like today we're kokanee fishing, so you're barely going to set that hair trigger in there. So now we got a hair trigger on our release. We're going to want to reel the rod tip down, because when the fish bites, you're going to have all this slack, and you want to have a rod that pulls that slack up. Here's the problem. Well, see, you go to reel it down, and because you set it so hair sensitive, it just pops out. So I'm going to put it in a little bit further. It's now down in the water. We go to reel it, and it popped off again. And a lot of you that are watching this video know exactly what kind of frustration that can lead to. So what we do to overcome that is you take your line and you put it even further into the gripper. Now normally this is going to be anywhere from 6 feet to 50 feet behind the boat. So now we've moved it further into the gripper. Now we can reel the rod tip down. It's not coming out. But the problem with that is now we're in so far that a kokanee just can't trip the downrigger release, or the release clip. I know there's hundreds of you, I don't know how many are going to watch this video, but that have trolled for kokanee, and you know exactly what I'm talking about. The fish has been on there, a small fish, you've been dragging him for the last 15 minutes, and they're just not coming out. So then you go back to barely putting the release in, and you go to lower your weight, and sure enough, it pops up, and up comes the weight, and it can just lead to frustration. And not only did it frustrate me, it frustrated Keith Chamberlain. So he developed this quick release, and I think it's absolutely genius. What he did is he put two sources of tension on them. One is this thumb screw right here, and that squeezes these grippers on top. And that controls how hard you can crank your rod tip down. Now the real genius in this is that he has two magnets in here. And depending on the fish you're going after, you can increase or decrease the tension on the magnet. So today we're doing kokanee, so we're gonna lighten it up. Now when a fish bites, it pulls straight out, and this opens up and your line releases and you fight the fish. And this operation is completely independent of the tension on how hard you crank the line down. So what's so amazing is we can set a hair trigger for a fish to bite, and we can really crank this down so we can crank that rod tip way down. Again, when the fish bites, it just slides this out, this bail opens up, and you fight the fish. It's just that simple. On a bigger fish, you can, if you're going for, you know, lake trout, walleye, or, you know, or even if you're going after salmon, you can dial this in even further, and it gets more and more tension on how hard the fish has got to hit the lure before this will pop open and come out. People are going to ask, well, why do you want to be able to adjust this? Well, it's simple. You know, today we're using really light gear, obviously not here, for these kokanee. And if we don't get a fish and we want to gear up, you want to be able to pull up on the line and pop this out. So you don't want this super tight. But I want it tight enough that I can send my gear down. You know, today we're going to send these weights down around 80 to 100 feet at, you know, speed. We don't want our line popping out. And then when we're down, we've got 100 feet of line in the water, which is causing a lot of bow in it. So we're really going to have a lot of tension on here. But the one thing that's not effective is how light the fish is when they can bite. So I'm going to try to do my best here to demonstrate how you would use this. So what you would do is you're going to take your line and go 1, 2, 3, 4 loops. You open up the bail, put this line in here, lock it. I'm going to tighten it up so it don't trip too easy. Now you're set. Now we're going to go ahead and crank the rod down. So now we can crank the tip down. And as you can see, that has no effect. When a fish bites, they're going to pull this. I'm going to try to do it slow motion and show you. This is just going to pull straight out, and then that line's going to open up, and off you go fighting your fish. It's that simple. I'm going to strip some more line out, and we'll try to do this in just kind of really slow motion so there's no tension. Again, I'm just going to go 1, 2, 3, 4. We're going to lock it in. Okay, now we're fishing. When a fish bites, it's going to slide this out, and then this opens up, the line pulls off, and you're off fighting the fish. It's really absolutely amazing. So here's what I'm going to tell you. We're offering these on our website. We've got plenty in stock. I've committed to selling these things for Keith and his wife. I really believe in it. I believe in what they're doing. I just think this is the best downrigger release on the market. So much so that I'm going to give you my personal guarantee. If you buy these and you don't like them, ship them back and I'll give you your money back. I think it's just absolutely going to rock your world and change your trolling experience. Well, with all of that being said, I hope to see you out on the water.